Alright, bit of a longer video today. I know the last couple of weeks it's been mostly short stuff, purely because I just haven't had time in real life. I'm sure plenty of other people are in the same boat at the moment. But yeah, nice to have a longer video with a multitude of runs. I generally prefer to have videos that have multiple runs in them, but it does significantly increase the workload, which is why, when things get busy, we have to, make do with shorter stuff. But anyway, this is being recorded on the 29th of December, so presumably I'm going to upload it tonight. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll save it till tomorrow. There might be another video before 2026. I'm not sure. So I think in that case, what I'm going to do is just talk in general about this year in the SAP world. And then if I do another video, it'll just be another simple one out of the backlog. So a bunch of stuff has happened in SAP this year. Where to begin? Well, I guess at the start of the year, I got a message saying, do you want to participate in the test for Danger Pack? And of course, I was very keen to be involved in the early testing for Danger Pack. I think I've talked about some of this stuff in the members area before, but maybe not on the public channel. I can't remember. But in the past, I was on deck to be involved in a previous private test, and then it obviously never happened. Anyone who remembers back to Unicorn launch, there was no test server for Unicorn. So yeah, I was kind of disappointed at the time, but eventually I did get the chance to be involved with testing, and it was pretty fun overall. There are two main aspects when you're testing a pack. The first one is just finding bugs, which is very simple. You're essentially just looking for things that don't work as described. But then, on top of that, there's also the attempting to try and come up with suggestions to improve balance. And I think this is something that everyone in the SAP community struggles with to some degree, because I frequently see wild suggestions from people, even very experienced players. I've definitely made some suggestions in the past that have made no sense when you actually try them in game. But yeah, it was still very fun overall being involved in the test, even if a lot of the ideas that I submitted did not make the cut. Some of them for very good reason. And it was also kind of a shame that some of the units that I really liked the most in the initial private test ended up having to be removed because they were just way too strong. Hopefully there's a chance that some of them come back in 2026 in some form or another. I'll certainly be submitting feedback to that effect. But yeah, it was quite a long time before Danger Pack was launched. We were testing for months, really, and there were quite a lot of changes. I'm not sure if I've actually used up all of my footage that I had showing the pre-release version, which had some significant differences. Maybe I'll have to try and dig out some of that to show next year. But yeah, it was very fun, and I'm not sure if we're going to get another pack this year. It may just be that it will be minor updates from this point onwards. I'm not sure. Certainly, I don't think the game needs a new paid pack. I definitely think it needs a new free pack, but that's a different conversation, because I don't really think, while I do think a new free pack would be great to try and bring in another wave of players, or bring back old players who kind of got bored with Turtle Pack. I think adding a new free pack can easily be achieved without actually adding many new pets at all. And definitely something that I think long-term players have been aware of for a while is that the game, the barrier for entry to the game has been increasing. And I'm sure this is something Rev has talked about as well. There's 500 and something odd pets, and 6 packs that you need to understand if you're going to play Versus. it's just it's a lot, I think, for a brand new player. Even if you can still just play Turtle and never look at the rest of the game, it is a high barrier for entry. Now they have actually started taking steps to reduce that. I mentioned in the previous video about the tutorial that was added. I think you can access that by clicking the top right menu and choosing Game Tips. So even if you've skipped over the tutorial the first time, you should still be able to go back and rewatch it if you're struggling after having jumped in at the deep end. But yeah, they've also changed the difficulties. That's something that a few people have asked me about in the comments. There are now 3 different difficulty levels. There were 3 previously. They were called easy mode, and then briefly it was called chill, and then there's hard and just the normal difficulty as well. Now things have been rearranged a little bit, so now we have normal, which is the lowest difficulty level, and that will be the easiest one. So if you're an experienced player and you play on normal, you should find it very, very easy indeed. And I think that's fine. I don't think there's a major issue with having a mode where, even if you're an experienced player, you can go in and just get a relatively simple victory without having to, grind for hours. Especially if you have a combo you just want to test out and you just want to see it working. I'm not sure if I'm going to end up using that mode or not, but it's nice that it's there. And, really, it should never be the case that a player has to spend hours and hours, trying to make a particular combo work in game. And hopefully the new difficulty system is also going to mean that players that create incredibly strong teams in the easy mode are not going to affect the other easy mode players. So if I went into easy mode, for instance, loaded up a Bird of Paradise pack or something, not that I have any of those lying around, but if I did, then I would be able to create a very strong team, but those teams should not be faced by the other people playing that difficulty mode. The opponents that you face should be decided based on the strength of their team rather than how long their account has been active. Now, I think that's a really healthy change and definitely worth a try at the very least, even if it ends up needing tweaked. So I haven't really played a whole lot since that update came out, but that is definitely on the list for me to spend some time trying to get to grips with it and see how much of a change it actually is. So then there's also a 4th difficulty now called Cursed, which I think is just the same as the original hard mode. You can still play the game with all the hard mode toys, and there are specific achievements for that as well. So none of that has been lost. And I think, based on what I've seen from a variety of posts that people have made in Discord, I think the majority of people seem to be enjoying the change. They like the fact that they get to choose how difficult the game is, rather than be doing really well one day and then load the game up the next day and suddenly it's impossible because they moved up into the higher bracket. So yeah, I kind of went on a tangent there. If we jump back to the release of Danger Pack, what else happened? Well, we had the Nexus GG partnership thing, which was a bit of a surprise, but at the same time, very welcome. I've talked about that a few times recently because there have been changes again in the current update to do with the web store. I actually need to record a run where I use the exclusive mascot that they added in the web store. I don't think I've recorded a single video where I used a mascot, but we'll make an exception in this particular instance. I don't really talk about the partnership very often, but all the information for using the web store is in the description of every video. And I encourage you to use the creator codes of all the various SAP tubers who are still going at this late stage. I thought years ago I would have got sick of the game by this point, but I really haven't. It's just, there's always something new to try. I really appreciate the efforts that the developers have gone to keep my favourite mode fresh, which is of course custom packs. And actually today there has been another test server update, so we've got more new stuff to try out. I'm pretty sure there's some new free pets as well. So info will be in the description on how you can actually play the test server if you want to do that. So something else that we can talk about from this year, we've kind of been watching it this entire time, is the return of these wacky weekly packs. So this one was only a few weeks ago. It was the mirror toy. Now we had the mirror in the past, which allows you to get a copy of a surviving enemy unit. This pack was designed basically to allow you to gain access to the hidden achievements, like the baby sea urchin here, although unfortunately we don't get the chance to steal it. Not to worry though, because I'm not really going for that anyway. We're going to try and do something else. But yeah, I think these weeklies were a great idea when they were first introduced, and they kind of faded away, which was a real shame, because there were definitely, because we knew that there were more unused wacky toys like the mirror that we hadn't seen yet. But hopefully we'll be able to see more of these in 2026. And of course all the wacky toys were released for private lobbies. So all you avid Kino watchers will have already experienced what these toys are like in a private versus setting. And actually they added some really useful ones for versus as well. I think some of them have been used by the versus community for like tournaments and things. Don't quote me on that, but someone I'm sure can comment below and let me know if that's the case. But yeah, these types of sort of modifiers, they just add an extra twist to the game. And I think they make such a big difference in terms of breathing new life into units that, you know, have been around for a long time. And this one in particular, the mirror, I spent so much time on that in 2024 that I was happy to see it return. Of course, the pack is not exactly the same as it was back then, because there are new units to make use of. But we also have Red Panda, which allows any weekly pack to add a lot of replayability, simply for the fact that you can now access, technically any tier 5 or 6. And so in this particular example, we've got the sea cucumber, which was obtained via Red Panda, and now we're setting about making as many copies of it as we possibly can. I mean, I was happy to play this weekly, the normal way, trying to get the secret achievements. I'm pretty sure I didn't get all of them while it was active, but that doesn't matter too much to me. I'm not a huge achievement collector. But you could also see lots of really fun teams, like this one here. There were a lot of people making use of Spider Crab in interesting ways, some of which I'll hopefully have to steal for future videos. I think Spider Crab is one of those units that is, so underplayed because it's so bad. But in the context of a weekly pack, even bad units can suddenly become very relevant. This is a funny round where the ailment messes up the pelican. Otherwise, I think we would have probably been in big trouble here, taking a lot of damage from the salmon snipe. And yeah, of course, you can see the vision here. We're just going to try and farm the sea cucumber buffs all the way up to having a full team. I think I'm going to keep one slot empty at the moment for buy sells. Yeah, like the oyster. And then we can think about bringing in the last one right at the very end. Here's someone with a level 3 golden retriever. Hopefully they got their achievement. Let me know in the comments below if you got any of the achievements in this weekly. I think I got 1 or 2, but I had most of them already, so it wasn't quite as stressful as the last time this weekly was available. But yeah, what else happened this year? Well, there's definitely been a big decline in terms of the number of uploads to YouTube across the board in SAP. There have actually been quite a lot of smaller channels just starting out, which is nice to see. But of course, they don't have the advantage that people like myself and SAG did back in the olden days, where SAP was so popular that it was much easier to build up a following. But yeah, SAG is definitely taking a break at the moment, which I can completely understand, given how long we've both been doing this. And then, of course, Rev as well has had to move to doing, sporadic videos. I find it difficult enough maintaining the channel when I don't have any kids. So I can only imagine what it's like for Rev with the youngster taking up a lot of his time. But it was really great to see when he did his movie not too long ago. We'll link in the description if for some reason you haven't seen that. It was great to see that was still able to kind of break through and pick up a lot of viewers from outside the normal SAP sphere. That was something that I really didn't think was possible at this late stage. And so well done him for proving me wrong. I think he is poised to release another video in a similar vein. And it's an incredible amount of effort to make a video that long. So when he does, make sure you go across and support him with likes, subscribes, and all the rest of it. Hypes, I think, is something else now, which I've never mentioned before. I don't even really understand it, to be honest. But yeah, I suppose there have been some changes on YouTube as well. That's something else we can mention here. I generally don't like to talk about analytics and things because I don't spend a whole lot of time looking at it. I mean, my channel kind of breaks all the rules in terms of what you're supposed to do to try and get a lot of viewers and subscribers and clicks and all the rest of it. So definitely don't follow my lead if you want to actually, grow a successful channel. But there was something very interesting happened in the summer, which at the time was quite alarming. I don't think I've mentioned it on the channel before. But around about August, I started getting recommended a lot of videos which were to do with channels suddenly having their view counts plummet. Now, this was something that I had attributed to a decline in popularity of SAP, which obviously there has been, but not to the extent that we were suddenly all of us creators were suddenly getting way fewer views than we would have expected. And it's really quite disconcerting when that happens, when you spent so much time trying to, build something up, and then suddenly out of nowhere, it seems like it's falling apart. After some time, it turned out that the reason for the decline was that YouTube was no longer counting views from people who used ad blockers. Now, I haven't mentioned this in the past because I'm sure there are a lot of people who use ad blockers watching this, and if that's what they want to do, fair enough. But just remember that if you use an ad blocker, that means that any YouTube channel you watch gets no revenue. But now, on top of that, they don't get any they don't get any views either. And that was kind of alarming at the time. Ultimately, it doesn't really bother me anymore. But it was good to finally get an explanation for why the views were suddenly so much lower than they were in the past. It wasn't that they were lower; it was just that they were being counted differently. So all the people who were watching, or most of the people who were watching, were still there. It was just basically an accounting issue. And yeah, kind of a strange thing for YouTube to do, especially when they didn't really explain it very well, if at all. But yeah, there were some enterprising individuals who worked it all out on their own, and I'm sure if you search for it, you can find some videos about that particular topic, and you know, if you want to dig deeper into it. So I think that was around about summertime. So what else has happened since then? Well, we had Minipack 3. When was that exactly? I can't remember when that was released, but we had Minipack 3, which had its own private testing phase as well, which I spent a decent amount of time on. Not anywhere near as much time as Danger Pack. But yeah, there were some things in Minipack 3 which were very similar to my pack creation that I made the year before, Canary Pack. You know, all about giving yourself ailments and getting a benefit out of it. So that was really awesome to see. And because of being busy at the end of the year, I just haven't had the chance to really explore that the way I wanted to. And of course I did record a bunch of stuff on the test server, but I didn't want to upload the test footage either, because a lot of it ended up being changed significantly. And a lot of the clips were just me going against Rev a lot of the time as well. So not quite as entertaining as they could be. But yeah, Minipack 3 had some awesome stuff, and actually in the last couple of days, there have been some incredible teams posted that utilize some of the technology from Minipack 2. In fact, I think I'll try and link some of those in the description if I can find them. But yeah, Fanboy Ochi's been going ham with creating incredible new teams, and hopefully I'm going to get back to doing that once we get to a quieter time in the coming year. So yeah, I'm sure there are other things that happened this year that I've forgotten about. Let me know in the comments if there's anything that you can think of that you would have wanted me to mention here, and I'll try and mention it in a future video. But yeah, you can see in the background here we're closing in on the level 3 Fire Pup achievement, which was one of the achievements that I did not get the first time around when the Mirror Weekly was available. And not for lack of trying, I spent the better part of 2 weeks trying to get the Fire Pup and Giant Ice Dog achievements. Now the Giant Ice Dog I did end up getting in customs, but Fire Pup was one that I had not managed to get, and so it was high on the priority list when the Mirror Weekly came round again. Now we're on 9 wins, we have 1 heart. Quetzalcoatl is going to level up the Fire Pup to level 3. I do already have the sticker, so it won't show up. But at this point, I did not have the achievement, and I needed the next battle to go well. And it looks like a reasonably strong opponent, level 3 Falcon. They transform into the Cerberus, which doesn't get to activate anything because it's right at the front. And then we get this very scary moment here where the Falcon copies the Baycat and transforms the Fire Pup into the Cricket. But of course we are going to copy their Baycat. And although our Baycat gets transformed again, we still hang on for the level 3 Fire Pup achievement. So like I said, this might not be the last video of 2025, but I promise if there is another one, I won't waffle on for 25 minutes.